As time moves forward, change is inevitable. What seems like a while ago now, we were all hit with the COVID-19 pandemic, which brought about a big change for all of us. For myself, the pandemic resulted in a big change to one of my favorite things: food. Before the pandemic, I was truly unaware of how much food played a role in my life. From going out and eating my favorite dishes, to spending time with family and friends, I was now stuck inside hoping to one day go out and share a meal again. To make the most of my extended time inside, however, I took it upon myself to learn about my culture through cooking. As I cooked, I got to see my culture through a different lens. I started to appreciate all the effort it took to make the different dishes, and when I looked into the stories behind them, I learned that the people of Hong Kong and Guam also made the most out of change through food. So although not all problems can be solved by food, the adaptability of the people of Hong Kong and Guam showcase how food can be a tool to make the most out of change. The histories of Hong Kong and Guam are those both filled with colonization. The British controlled Hong Kong for over 150 years, and Guam was controlled by the Spanish and now remains a territory of the United States to this day. The result of these colonial powers coming in was a change to the lives of locals. What was once their indigenous culture was slowly transitioning or changing to look more like that of the colonial powers. And while some may have assimilated to make the most of this change, others worked hard to hold on to their tradition. And one way they did this was through food. Cha Chaan Tangs, or Hong Kong-style cafes, were born out of British rule of Hong Kong, as Western foods were too expensive for locals, thus were reserved for the upper class. To make Western foods more accessible, Cha Chaan Tangs served Western-inspired dishes while catering to local tastes. The result? Something uniquely Hong Kong. From baked pork chop rice, which combines a Hong Kong-style fried rice with a Western-style tomato sauce, to Hong Kong-style milk tea, which takes the Cantonese joy of drinking tea and adds a Western flair through the addition of milk, these changes showcase how the essence of Hong Kong was able to be maintained in a different form. In addition to making Western foods their own, the people of Hong Kong were also able to hold on to their traditions through food. Cha Chaan Tangs did not replace traditional meals like dim sum, rather they served two different purposes. Cha Chaan Tangs were a place where anyone can go grab a quick bite in a more casual Western dining experience, whereas dim sum paid homage to tradition as people gathered around a variety of small dishes and tea to enjoy something that was more than just a meal, but an event filled with cultural traditions. From the pouring of tea to the family-style layout, the Cantonese values of family, considering others before yourself, and enjoying food with others shines through. So although the British brought about change to Hong Kong, the people were able to overcome by making the food their own, as well as holding on to their traditional meals. And while Guam does not have a ubiquitous cafe like a Cha Chaan Teng, or a traditional meal or event like dim sum, food still showcases how the Chamorros were able to adapt and overcome to their long-standing history of colonization. From the Spanish, who brought more overt assimilation, such as laws preventing them from speaking their native language, to the more covert assimilation the Americans brought about, such as the importation and implementation of the U.S. school system, the Chamorros were heavily influenced by these colonial powers, and this can be reflected in some of their food. For example, one popular dish, Kelaguen, showcases both of these influences. Kelaguen is a chopped up meat dish marinated in lemon, grated coconut, as well as buni pepper. And while the influences are not immediately clear, there are still Spanish and American influences. The Spanish influences come in from the meat that was used, as many of the meats made into Kelaguen originated from the Spanish bringing them over during their time of colonization. The American influences come in the cooking process, as chicken Kelaguen is barbecued, very similar to American barbecue. Despite these influences, however, there are still Chamorro roots, as the use of coconut, an indigenous and important part of Chamorro life long before colonization, and the buni pepper, which is a popular pepper on Guam, are used in these dishes and hold those Chamorro roots. So in both Hong Kong and Guam, food was changed because of the colonial powers coming in, but the indigenous people were able to hold on to their values, as many dishes still hold on to some root from before colonization. In addition, food, regardless of origin, highlights the Cantonese and Chamorro value of family, as people gathered around food to not only enjoy the amazing dishes, but also time with family and friends. So even though colonization brought about change to both Hong Kong and Guam, the people were able to adapt and overcome through food. So as we face change, let's adapt much like the people of Hong Kong and Guam, through food. When change makes us lose touch with who we are, let's engage in discussions about our cultural dishes to learn about the stories and the values they embody. When change prevents us from visiting our cultural homelands or spending time with family and friends, let's cook some dishes we share to enjoy and have a connection to them no matter the distance. When change makes it difficult to understand the people around us, let's share each other's dishes and learn about the stories behind them to better understand each other. Just no matter what, let's see food as more than just sustenance. Rather, let's see food as a way to adapt to any change.